Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the ultimate shotgun build in Palworld's 1.0 update. We can do some pretty and crazy damage here, and I'll be showing you exactly how to do this, as there are multiple different setups that we can use to do some insane amounts of damage while just using a shotgun. So I'll break down everything that you guys need to know in this video, and yeah, you're seeing this here against the hard mode version of Xiaolong. We can stun lock him here, and the cool thing is we can use a variety of different elements here to get a very powerful effect depending on the boss that we're going against. But you see here, turning that electric damage type on is just insane. And there's the Ari hat to show us in hard mode. Now there's actually a shotgun pal in this game with Nyafia here, which when activated, they're going to fire off their own shotgun nearby enemies for a limited time. This is cool, and we're mostly just using this for the rule of cool aspect. It is more so this increased shotgun damage by 35% here that we're looking at. And the fun part about them is they are a dark pal, which means they fit onto a lot of really good build setups here. So I'll show you a few different variations, but I like to roll with Nyafia here. Now Solen for any player damage builds is the best in slot because they're going to give us an 80% increase to overall damage when they're fully max condensed. And you can also couple this up with throwing Vanguard on every pal in your party. This gives a 10% player attack bonus, which ends up being 50%. So yeah, you can get 140% there, just 130% there just from maxing out all your teams with Vanguard and having Solen. You could also throw in Gobfin Ignis, but I like to roll with Xenogard here. This increases energy weapon damage by 35%. And we also have 2 energy shotguns in this game, so this is doubling up even further. And this is a very nice buff to its overall damage. Now, depending on your setup, like I showed off here, whenever in the party we can apply Electrify with Snock here. This is great against a lot of different pals because it stuns them and lets us hit our shotgun attack right on their head. Amazing ability here. I highly recommend having that, or another one which I'll talk about in a moment here, but Prickster Lux as well. This is great because you can have them out, change your attack type to electric, and increase your attack by 50%. This lets you just completely melt any boss that is water type in this game, so Panthalus and the final tower boss. But if you prefer just raw damage, throwing a Gobfin and a Gobfin Ignis in replacement of Snock and Prickster Lux gives you an additional 40%. And these are 2 different species, even though they're both Gobfin. And this actually means that Solen's buff will still apply. So you can get a 35%, 35%, 80%, 20-20. So yeah, that ends up being quite a nice buff to our overall attack. I want to mention a few other substitutes. We can use Sylvestius here, which will increase the defense of our shield by 80% and reduce the delay. So if you want to be even tankier, Sylvestius is an incredible option. Orzurk is also really good because every bullet that hits a target will increase the attack of your pals by 5%, so 150%. Shotguns trigger this really well, making Nyafia do some insane damage. But I personally would rather go for like the elemental swap with like Prickster Lux and the Snock here to be able to increase the damage. You could also go with Hell Zephyr if you prefer to fly around. We can also go with a fire setup and use Wixen for that 50% attack boost with fire damage, or ride Ragnarok or chill at Ignis, and then pair this with a Needle Knock, which applies Ivy covered, which will slow the enemy down, make them take double fire damage. So all of our damage is getting doubled here. This would be a very powerful combination as well. I should also mention Ophidia here. Against non-water types, you can soak them, which makes them take double electric damage. So going with the Prickster Lux and Ophidia lets you do some pretty silly damage because you're always going to be applying soak and at a good rate here too, and then turning our damage into electric and just destroying them. If you're going against a full-on like party that you want to be dark against, using Wixen Knock here will change your attack type to dark and increase its attack power by 50%. And then we can also do a fun little synergy here by throwing on Venusa, which will inflict blind 6, and then also throw on Rouge, which gives a 65% increase to overall attack power against blinded targets. And then when you have Venusa out, they can use their poison skill to then apply Prickster's 65% boost to poison type attacks. So we could actually roll with a party like this. So go Nyafia, Solen, Venusa, Prickster, and Rouge. This will blind targets. Having Venusa will poison them, giving you that huge boost, 130% extra damage from our pals and from us, so that our shotguns just hit hard. And then we're still getting the boost from Nyafia as well as Solen. Although if you really want to use Nyafia as your main pal, I would recommend some of the other selections here. You could also increase the defensiveness by using Bakemi, which will give you targets that are poisoned reduce their attack by 80%, which is huge. And you can go with an all-out nuke build with Celestial Knock to boost up Nyafia. I wouldn't recommend it. And the last one I'll recommend here is Elgrove Christ with Ophidia, which will soak and then freeze them instantly. So you can freeze targets with your shotgun. It is really, really silly. But I think the best cover-all setup here would be go Nyafia, Solen, Xenogard. So we're getting a lot of attack boost to our shotguns, Ophidia to soak targets, and then we're going to pull out Prickster Lux once we have soak applied, and then do some pretty crazy damage to them. And if it's a water type, you can swap this out for something like Snock. And for this build, since we're using shotguns, pick your shotgun of choice. The prototype's actually really good for efficiency if you don't want to burn through your resources really quickly. But the going actually with the beam scatterer here is the best possible damage here. You do see the prototype shotgun does have very high damage, but the beam scatterer just is a lot better, and it also benefits from Xenorguard's ability. The energy shotgun, the same thing here, but I also like to throw in the drone launcher for passive damage, and if you have Orzerk, it'll trigger their ability easily. And I like to throw in the mechanical bow just because we're close range with shotguns. Obviously, this is the long range weapon of the game, so we can use this for targets like Panthalus that like to swim away from us. So yeah, beam scatter is going to be out 90% of the time. I also like to go with this setup for Talisman. So going with the Dojin Talisman gives us a 20% attack boost, and our pals will get that 20% attack boost as well. Lord of the Underworld's Baton will boost up their attack by another 20% and give them a dark damage enhancement. So that's great for Nyafia. And Lily Nox Talisman will increase the PAL defense as well as increase their overall damage of dark type moves. You don't have to use that though. You can go with some of the other options here like Catcher's Ring, which will give a neutral damage reduction as well as increase the PAL's dark damage. So again, if you really want to have them out. But there's also the attack pendant, which is a little bit less exciting. It's a 15% attack increase for us, which can push the edge if you really want to take your damage up to the next level. I always like to have the triple jump boots equipped just for more mobility, but you can then throw on one of these other talisman to include the full boost to our pals. And you always want to have the Mazzarina Cheeseburger here. 20% attack boost is just a massive boost on top of everything else that we're getting. And for passives, I'd recommend everyone in the party having Vanguard for that 10% attack increase, which is massive. Reload mass will give a 4% increase. It's 20% reload speed when you have the full party with that, which is okay. It will increase the overall DPS that we are doing, so it's worth taking in my opinion if we're wanting to focus on player damage. Stronghold Strategist will give ourselves a 50% increase to our defense, which is nice, and Idiosyncratic will be giving us that 50% health regeneration rate, so that's nice. But for Nyafia, I like to throw on Demon God for a 30% attack boost and 5% defense boost with Vanguard, Reload Master, and Idiosyncratic. Now, this will take us, if we have it full trust as well as Awakened, 35k DPS or attack stat, which is pretty solid here. But the thing is, we can put these three moves on Nyafia, which are some of the most powerful in this game: Apocalypse, Circle Vine, and Sand Twister. These are all three moves that'll hit in an area of effect, making them insanely powerful against the final boss of the game. You can also use this setup for a lot of other bosses, but yeah, this ends up being really strong. So we can bring out Nyafia here in a boss fight, and you're going to see Apocalypse does serious work against any large enemies here like Zanara. So we're here to use our shotgun. It's actually on a boss like this is a bit of a DPS loss to force them to use their shotgun when they have skills this powerful, but if you want to have a good laugh, you then just use that ability here. But you can see we're doing some pretty solid damage here against the boss. So yeah, this is against Zanara and Astralim here, and yeah, I would recommend pulling away for these phases, but our damage is so powerful, and then Nyafia's got some of the craziest attacks in the game. So there's a Circle Vine there. Yeah, you're going to see it absolutely just destroy this boss, making it one of the most powerful against a lot of the bosses in this game. Now, our only downside is mobility, so the wing pack here does help out quite a bit, and they're going to try and use their skills here. Serenity does help, and honestly, if you wanted to have it use its skills quicker, that 30% cooldown is really nice on it. So there's the Sand Twisters coming out. Oh, and it dodged it, unfortunately. Sometimes it is good to just call back your pals, but there's Apocalypse going while we're blasting away with a shotgun, and yeah, cleared it real quick. So yeah, as I mentioned, you can counter anything in the game because we can always switch out our elements or just make them a water type basically by soaking them and then use electricity from him. But Nyafia is a very powerful pal, especially with this move setup here. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you guys all in the next video.